had this this woman that was on one of my teams, and this was before, but I had this one of my the people on my team was this woman, and she was always getting offended about stuff, and it was just it was really funny because we'd all be in a good mood and everything, and God would be doing good things and everything. Everybody's excited, and we meet together. We're meeting to get and talk over some stuff, and without fail, she was always offended by something. She went from she was offended with her husband because he didn't understand her, and then that was resolved, I guess. And then her brother wasn't raising his kids how she thought that he should. And it was funny because she had no kids. It's always a funny thing when people who don't have kids will tell you how you need to raise your kids. And so then that, I guess, was resolved, I guess, to a certain degree. She stopped talking about it, so I assumed it was resolved. Well, then she wanted to quit, and she calls me in tears. I need to get off this team. You guys are better off without me. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? Like, we all work good as a team. What's the issue? And well, she was in tears, beside herself, because someone was sitting too close to her. And I said, I can just ask that person to just move over a little bit. And, oh, well, something's got to happen, or I got to get, and I'm just like, okay, all right. So I resolved that issue. And there was another thing that instantly took its place. She was just literally offended by everything, going from offense to offense. And have you ever noticed that when you're upset, everything upsets you? See, when you carry offense, everything upsets you. It's one of those things where, why that person went from thing to thing to thing? Because she was offended. And when we're offended, we don't see things clearly. We don't judge correctly. What happens is we get overwhelmed, and then every single thing becomes that offense. So when you're upset, everything upsets you. For instance, you're having a bad day. Maybe you're late to work. You get in your car, you start driving, and of course, all the idiots in the entire world are driving at that exact moment. Well, what are the chances of that? Doesn't it seem a little bit more likely that maybe you're driving a little bit crazy? Maybe you're in a bad mood. Oh, no, it's not me. It's all of them. Every driver on the entire road, it's all of them. It's not me. Or did you ever notice how when you're dealing with one very irritating situation, you go, and this person here is just, it's like they're waiting. They are waiting for you. They can smell it in the air. They're having a bad day, and I have come to terrorize you. Well, no, they really haven't. I mean, if that situation you're going through wasn't there, that person would still be there. I mean, and but when we're upset about something, when we're offended, it just, there's so much more opportunity for offense when we're offended. When you're offended, even good things are reinterpreted to be offensive things. If you don't believe me, get in a fight with your spouse. And then in the middle of the spouse, not the middle of the spouse, I don't know, we don't know how that would work, but in the middle of the argument, say something like, well, you look great. And they're going to be all like, well, you're dumb. Wait, what'd you say? It's going to be one of those things that when you're offended, even good things are reinterpreted to be offensive things. Somebody will pay you a compliment. You'll be like, what did that mean? Like somebody will say, hey, Chuck, you did a great job on, that youth lesson that you did. Oh, so they're not normally good? The other ones aren't? The other ones stink? Is that what you're trying to say? You think I should quit? You think we should get another youth? I get it. See what I mean? When you're offended, things are reinterpreted to cater to your insecurity, and it's something that we do. We don't even think about it. And we all do it to a different degree. Maybe you don't do it every day, but you do it. Like when you have kids, they'll say something and they'll say, oh, Daddy, I really liked how you did, whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, early bedtime for you. And they're not trying to say something that offends you, but, when you're in that mood, it's just something that carries over. So we're looking at a good thing, right? And how a good thing becomes just a thing based on our attitude. And we're looking at 4 blinding attitudes, 4 things that blind us, and it also blinds other people. And so we looked at, 2 weeks ago, we looked at having a judgmental attitude. We looked at the difference between being discerning and being judgmental. We looked at being overcome by evil, where you react against others, okay? And tonight we're going to look at offended, being offended, having an offended spirit. And you would probably think that I'd want to, look at a verse like maybe, in Galatians or Corinthians or something about, your attitude and whatever. But I actually want to look at something that Jesus said that wasn't even talking about being offended, but it relates very, very strongly. Matthew 7:12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. See, when you're offended, it's easy to slip into this idea that the whole world revolves around you, right? You're the one who hurt. Everybody else should watch out for me because I hurt, right? And but in the midst of that, stop and ask this question: do I want people to be unforgiving of me like I'm being unforgiving? Do I want people to be hateful towards me like I'm being hateful about this? Do I want somebody to be bitter or snide? See, we like talking about people. We don't really like people talking about us. Like that's like the big no-no. Don't talk about me. I can talk about you. It's fine because everybody doesn't like you, but I'm great. Everybody thinks I'm great. So you need to stop talking about me. That was a joke, everybody. You guys are looking at me real serious right now. Do you want people to be snide with you? Well, then probably don't be snide with other people. I've noticed that I'm okay with acting ugly with someone who acts ugly. Have you noticed that in yourself? Like somebody else will act ugly and you'll say, it's okay if I act ugly to them because, they're a nasty person. Everybody thinks so, right? Now everybody's going to pretend like they have no idea. I've never done that. Okay. Oh, okay. Was that Isaiah, the one honest person in the crowd? If people knew some of the dumb things I think about people who offend me, I would be disqualified as anything. And it's not how I want others to be thinking about me. The way I've thought about other people who have offended me is not the way I want other people to think about me. Think about that. Think about the people who irritate you the most, the people who have really hurt you in your life. Is that the way you want people to think about you? Is that the way that when you're gone, you want your kids to remember you? See what I mean? It's easy for us to act ugly to someone else because we think that they act ugly. But when it's us, it's like, well, now hold on. So how does offense even start? How does it begin? How do you start being offended? Well, it didn't begin how I thought. I thought, well, people who are bitter and nasty, they were just always that way. And then there's, the regular people like us, who are perfect in every way. But that's not actually how it goes. See, offended people, and actually change your vocabulary. It's not that person's really annoying. It's that person's really hurt. You'll notice that the most hurt people are going to be the people who irritate you the most. Why? Because hurt people just go around hurting people. Can't really explain why. For instance, if you study World War II, right? Adolf Hitler, bad guy, not saying he's the good guy in the story. That's definitely not what I'm saying. This isn't an M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is history. But Adolf Hitler actually served in World War I. And then because of the things that happened to Germany in World War I, he got bitter about it. And then he stewed about it for 20 years. And now we have World War II. There were a lot of unsatisfied people who were upset. The issue was not resolved correctly. World War II, 20 years later. Are you seeing the process here? It's the exact same kind of thing. Adolf Hitler wasn't born, killing Jews. That wasn't like he came out of the grave and said, came out of his mom and said, "Mama, let's kill." That's not what happened. What happens when people who are offended, it's a process. And it happens, and this is the scary part, to each of us. Ooh, it could happen to you. And, when you stop demonizing people that you don't like and you start realizing that anybody can get stuck in a place of being offended, it's a heck of a lot easier to see other people as people. And it's a lot easier to start looking at yourself and saying, where am I? Because as I'm going to talk about in just a second, being offended is not a yes or a no. Are you offended? Yes, no. Like in high school, do you love me? Put X here for yes, or here, just stab me in the eye and I'll move on. It's not like that. It's a scale of offense. It's not you either yes are offended or no are not offended. It's how offended are you? Where on this scale of 10 to 1 are you? Oh, I'm 0. Not possible. Everybody at any given time carries around a little bit of offense, right? Because, well, we're just not as good as we want everybody to think we are. And that's okay. I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody here, but be honest with yourself. Being offended typically starts like this. You have one bad encounter with one person. That's typically where it starts. And it seems like an easy thing, but that bad encounter kind of gets under your skin. You can't stop thinking about it. It just really irritates you. And sometimes you even see similar patterns in other people. Oh, this isn't just them. Everybody does this. So then that one bad encounter with that one person turns into one person that you have a problem with. But it doesn't stay there for very long. Eventually, you get to this place where you just have a chip on your shoulder. When I was a kid, I used to not have a problem with bitter people. Do you know why? Because I didn't have a whole lot of experience in the world. It was easy. Like last week, I was telling you guys stories about the 2 situations in my life that I had actually handled correctly. If you notice, both of them for when I was a kid. See, as we get older, it gets a lot harder. And part of that is because we experience the real world. So I used to not have a problem with bitter people. Well, what happened? Well, I had a bad encounter with someone, and I really, honestly, truly, I really did everything right, and it still ended up terribly. There are some situations there's no winning, and that was one of those situations. I'm not saying I'm always right I'm saying about that situation, I did everything right. I check marked all the things. I actually cared about the person, and it still didn't work out. When I was a kid, I had this idea in my head that if you do everything perfect, everything will be okay. If you follow God, for instance, well, doors will just open and then you won't have to struggle at all. If you handle the situation correctly, people will always everything will work out and you'll have lots of friends and nobody will ever hate you. That's not how the world works. I'm not sure exactly how, but anyway, so I had this bad encounter. I tried to fix it. I did everything that I could, and it ended terribly. Well, I tried a few more times with a little bit less oomph than I did originally. But the encounters, they never got better. So then I started having a problem not just with that person, but with people who acted like that person. And then here's where it got ugly. Or even I started having bad attitudes with people who even reminded me of that person. They weren't even like that person. They just vaguely somewhat reminded me of that person. You know what I mean? It's like I was watching an episode of Monk. Monk, it's been off the air for a number of years, but it was a show about a detective who had OCD. And in the show, there was this monkey whose owner was killed by a bald guy. And so then this other guy comes to the crime scene, and he's bald. And so the monkey starts freaking out. It's kind of like that. You're the monkey in the story. Yeah. When you said I want to be, I thought you were going to say from Jungle Book, I want to be a man cub. Anyways, too much Disney, I guess. Huh? So I eventually stopped having a problem with just that person, but with people who acted or even reminded me of that person. And so what happened? Well, I stopped trying. As I got older and I dealt with people who were a pain in the butt, I stopped trying because I know how this is going to go, right? They're not going to change. They're just going to use me and abuse me and throw me away, right? So I stopped trying. And then I started justifying my bad little crappy attitude instead of saying, yeah, this is not good. I need to change this. Man, are you just so thankful that Jesus is not like us? Man, he all comes to earth and he's like, I've come to die for you, but I don't like the way Martha talked to me just now. Sorry, guys, you're on your own. Aren't you super glad that that's not how Jesus did things? Anyway, so I started justifying my attitudes. And this is where things culminated. I started learning the wrong lesson. I started learning the lesson like this. It's hopeless. Why even try? Here's another lesson I learned. I learned to write people off. They'll never change. They're a waste of my time. Bad lessons to learn from it. Well, how could you learn anything else? Well, there's some good lessons you could learn. For instance, you could learn that not everyone wants to change. And it's not up to you to change people. You need to love and accept people where they are. And if they hate your guts, well, not much you can do about it. I mean, you can try to chase them around and get them to like you, but I mean, there's nothing worse than somebody who wants too hard for you to like them, right? They're just like, love me, please. It's like, okay, all right, fine. You guys are all not joking tonight, so I'm don't know where to do with this. It's like this thing. Well, Texas would be okay if it weren't for all the Texans. Don't say that in Texas, by the way. They don't take kindly to them kind of words, and them be fighting words. And or another way of saying is, I saw a shirt that said this: "I'm a people person. If it wasn't for the people." See, the thing is, people will always fail you, just like you will always fail others. And when you start going through this whole, well, I'm not going to even try with this person because I experienced someone in the past. Take everybody for themselves, not for who they remind you of, or for that irritating thing that they do that you don't like. Just a little thing I've learned. When you are offended, you convince yourself everyone else is the problem. I wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for them. And then when somebody tries to talk to us, we turn it into competition. Well, they're worse than me. Maybe they're worse than you. I don't know. But here's the thing. You aren't responsible for them. That took me a long time to learn. You are not responsible for them. You are responsible for you. I don't know if they're worse than you. I really don't. But at the end of the day, you aren't responsible for them. Well, it's their fault I'm like this anyways. You are responsible for your own actions. Your own actions. You're not going to get to heaven one day and say, well, here's the thing. Okay, I know that I did something bad. Okay, all right, I get it. I did something bad. Okay, I have a reason. Hold on. You see, here I was, okay, and, well, they had it coming, God. And that's just kind of the way that, it's not going to work like that. You are responsible for your own actions. Oh, well, somebody hurt you. Hey, it's okay that you went off and killed a bunch of people. It's fine. They probably had it coming. One thing that I ask myself, and I hope that this is something that benefits you as well, is there always someone on my crap list? You might say, well, what's a crap list? A crap list is like someone you don't like, or someone that causes you high levels of anxiety when you're around them, or someone who hurt you, and it's just always in the back of your mind whenever their name is mentioned, like, oh, that person really hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an instant negative response, or an instant fear, or an instant anger when the person is mentioned. That would be someone who's on your crap list. And so ask yourself, do I always have a crap list? And is there always someone on that crap list? If you answered yes, and be honest with yourself, this isn't a quiz, like you're not going to stand up in front of all of us and tell us your answer. But I mean, be honest with yourself. And if the answer is yes, there is always someone on my crap list, that is a sign of having an offended spirit, an offended heart. I should say it like that. People, I noticed this about life. People typically don't have a gossip problem. I know here at the church, we talk a lot about gossip. People don't typically have a gossip problem. What they really have is they have a problem such as being offended. And then it comes out in gossip. Gossip isn't the sign of a healthy person. Gossip is the sign of a hurting person. People who are healthy don't need to make other people feel like crap to feel better about themselves. People who are healthy don't need to know everybody else's business. See what I mean? It's one of those things where if you're having a problem, and Pastor this morning was talking about addiction things, like being addicted to anger or addicted to gossip. When you're having an addiction, there's usually a deeper hurt. I cannot tell you the amount of drug addicts that I encounter who had something very traumatizing happen to them as a child. Not all of them, and I'm not saying there's an excuse for doing drugs. I'm just saying, typically, when you have an encounter like that as a child, you grow up and you have a problem with other addictive behaviors. It's a way of easing the pain, looking for a little bit of relief. And, well, it doesn't come through those things, but you always think that maybe the next time, right? Maybe the next time. When you leave wounds untended, you hurt others. It's like getting shot and not closing off the wound, and you kind of get blood on everybody else. Hurt. Another way of saying this is hurt people hurt people. That's a pretty fair way of summarizing it all. I mean, if I think over my own marriage, many times, I've had fights with Gracie because of issues I am currently dealing poorly with. Something will be irritating me with pick something, work. And, you know, I'll come home and I'll have a fight with Gracie, and it's like, what are we even talking about? What are we even fighting about? And, you know, that's something that happens actually fairly common. So we're going to look at two very quick things as before we close out here. We're going to look at two very specific things of what you can do, okay? The first thing that you can do if you are offended, the first thing you can do, Ecclesiastes 7:21, do not take to heart all the things that people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. So the first thing that you can do, don't take everything to heart. There are some people in my life who have really hurt and betrayed me, and the thing is, they had their own problems and their own hurts. It's in the past. Moving on. See, I don't have to take offense at everything that somebody else intended in a negative way. You see what I mean? Let's say, for instance, Chuck says something to me mean, and he wants it to hurt. I don't have to take that offense. See what I mean? I can just let it go in one ear and out the other. I can choose to not take to heart all the things that people say. Or I can get bent out of shape because of all the things that people are saying and try to control everybody and try to make everything always how I want it all the time. You're going to wear yourself out. It's not going to work anyways. So the first thing you can do, don't take everything to heart. The second thing you can do, Proverbs 19:11. Sensible people control their temper. They earn respect by overlooking wrongs. So the second thing that you can do, keep your mouth shut and move on. Oh, that's hard. Oh, it's hard to not just say that. I'm really good at one-line zingers. You wouldn't know that because I don't say them. But if you knew what was going on in my head, you would also agree with me. I'm really good at one-line zingers. Every time that somebody says something, I have something that pops up somewhere eventually of something that I could really say to just cut them down deep. And I take that. You don't ever do stuff like that? Come on. The biggest struggle, though, is in keeping your mouth shut. It's okay. You don't have to say something stupid. Oh, I said something stupid again. Just stop opening your mouth and then move on. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13, talking about love, that love keeps no record of wrong. Think about that. I remember what they did to me. But as you get older, it gets harder to not get jaded. You've been around this race a couple times. You know how it's going to go. You know what's going to happen. And you just get jaded. They're nasty, bitter people. I don't want anything to do with them. They'll never change. And you start losing faith in humanity. You hear people say this all the time. Losing faith in humanity. Well, part of the problem is that you shouldn't have had faith in humanity. You shouldn't have had faith in humanity in the first place. You can't have faith in people that they're going to change. Well, a lot of people aren't going to change, though, so you can't really have your faith in them, can you? If we could all just pick ourselves up and change, I bet you we all would. You have to choose to love them, realizing that they, just like you, will always mess up. But we love not because they're going to change or because they're going to be perfect. Don't love somebody in hopes that they're going to change. We love because that's who God called us to be. It's not who we are naturally. It's who God calls us to be. We don't love so that they'll change. Well, I hear this one quite frequently. I want to divorce my wife. Okay, well, why do you want to do that? I've done everything. That woman just won't change. That's not really love. That's trying to manipulate somebody into doing what you want them to do. Well, when we married, I thought that he was going to change. Why would you think that, lady? Yeah, the guy that you marry is probably going to be the same guy that you die with. I mean, what, you're just going to think that like all the nasty, irritating things are just going to woo, and then God's just going to put all these nice, good things in. Come on. We love because that's what God called us to be, not so that people will change. So what do we do with this? We've got all these things about offense. What do we do about this? Well, before we go to the application, these are the 2 lessons for offense, and I want you to really try your best to remember them. Don't take everything to heart. Don't take everything to heart. Just remember that. Don't take everything to heart. It doesn't have to be something. Doesn't have to be. Somebody else is bent out of shape. That's fine. You don't have to get bent out of shape too. Somebody else is offended. You don't have to get offended either. I mean, there's this verse in Proverbs that says, "Don't hang around with someone who's got an anger problem because you're going to eventually have an anger problem." And the same is true for being offended. Don't hang around with people who are always offended about stuff because eventually you're going to be offended about everything. So the 2 lessons, don't take everything to heart. Keep your mouth shut and move on. I mean, it's 2 really good pieces of advice. So what do we do with this application? Okay, here, remember that unresolved offenses spread. We always think that we can keep it contained, right? I have this hurt and this bitterness from this person, but it's not going to affect me. I hate this person, but I don't hate anybody else. I hate how this person treated me, but I can keep it there and I can keep it locked up and nobody ever has to know about it. It doesn't work like that. Unresolved offenses, they will always spread. You have an attitude problem with your wife, it's going to go with people at your job. It's going to go with people at your church. I mean, it's just something that happens. We can't keep a bad attitude contained in. If there's people in your past that hurt you, people in your past that you're bitter about, you have to let go of that hurt and take that attitude out of your life. Because what happens is it will always rule you and it will affect every other relationship you have. Every other relationship you have. An encounter with someone becomes that person being a problem, becomes that type of person being anyone who's vaguely like that person. Now, I want to say this real quick. I've said unresolved offenses that unresolved offenses spread. And I will say this. So how do you know when an offense is resolved? Well, you would think when you don't deal with it anymore. That's not entirely true. See, you will likely struggle with it, possibly for the rest of your life. So how do you know if it's unresolved or if it's resolved? Are you going like this or are you going like this? Are you thinking about the issue more or less? Can you talk to the person more civilly than you used to 10 years or 5 years ago, or less civilly? Those kinds of things. Then sometimes I guess that's for another day. When you are weighted down with offenses, though, your joy for doing other things will oftentimes be diminished. Let's say, for instance, for me, playing guitar and reading, for instance, sometimes it becomes pointless. Maybe when you're reading the Bible, it just becomes words. Prayer just seems like a waste of time. You're talking in the air. You don't really feel like you're getting any traction. When you are weighted down with offenses, it takes away your joy in other things. Now remember, being offended is not a yes or a no. You are offended or you're not. No, it's not yes or no. It's a scale. Where are you on the offense scale? Is it greatly influencing your life and your decisions? Is it mildly affecting your life and decisions? Or is it not, or little? Now, to a certain degree, like I said, you will always carry this around with you. When somebody hurts you, you can't forget it. It's not that you can't try, it's just that it stays with you. I mean, if you've really ever had a real betrayal, you're not going to forget it. I mean, you can try going to hypnosis treatments or something, but you're not going to forget it. I mean, it's just going to be there. The trick is to forgive, let it go. But we're not trying to forget something, because what happens when somebody betrays you? Well, you learn a few things, don't you? You learn maybe don't do that again. You learn maybe to be a little more selective with who you trust instead of just trusting everybody because, hey, he said I can trust him, Well, I guess that's another conversation for another day. And this is what I really want you to get from all these 2 things. These are really 2 important points for me. We can only bring people to God if we can see them past our own offenses. We can only bring people to God if we are willing to be mistreated even more. When you say no more pain, there's not much more that you can do in life because everything has a measure of pain to it. Love requires loss. Life requires death. It's just the way of things. You can't say, God, this is it. No more pain for me. That sounds great. Sign me up, but it's not going to happen. We can only bring people to God if we can look past our offenses. And number two, the second thing that I want you to get from all this thing, we cannot build bridges to the offended if we are also offended. If we don't deal with what offends us, we will not be able to reach the community who is also offended. Why? Because we get sucked into their tiffs and get them involved in ours. Ever notice how small churches always have some things that are just repeated over and over again? They typically hold to traditions. They're typically not outreach oriented, and they typically have people who are inside having squabbles about stupid stuff. Churches that grow, on the other hand, have almost none of those things in common. They have a commitment to their community. They do things to go out and reach people. They have weekly encounters like as a group. There's just complete different, and I can actually advise you a couple books if you're more interested in that topic. But growing churches don't do the same things, and they don't think the same way as small, shrinking churches. They don't think the same way. And when we're trying to reach a community who's offended and trying to do that while we are also offended, all that's going to happen is you now have more people who are a party to your offense. Whereas before, maybe you didn't have anybody listening to your side of the story. Now you just got new people listening. Congratulations, you're one step closer to winning your argument. But on the other hand, you can win a community when you let go of the offenses. So the question is, how much do you want to obey God? Do you want to obey God just enough where he changes, where you feel good about yourself every week? Or do you want to be at the point where God can change you and actually use you to reach others in the community? Well, see, I want you to use me, God, but I don't want to have to change. I don't want to have to let go of my hurts, but I want to be able to reach other people in their hurts. Now, how's that going to work? So if I had to summarize anything about being offended, I would summarize it in three ways. Number one, ask for forgiveness for your bad attitude. But I didn't do the wrong thing. You responded with a bad attitude. Ask forgiveness for your bad attitude. Number two, be the person you look up to in someone else. It's a lot easier to look at someone else and say, wow, I really look up to them. Be that person. Be the person someone can look up to. And I was talking to somebody and they said, how do I know what to do? And I told them this. They said, do what the tomorrow you would be proud of doing. And they said, oh, well, that makes it a lot easier. Is the tomorrow you going to look back and say, I wish I would have just dealt with this already? I wish I would have just dealt with it already? Or are you going to say, man, oh man, I sure am glad that I held on to that bad attitude? I find it unlikely, mostly because I've been on both sides of that. The things that I've said in all three parts of this series was very personal to me. These are things from my heart about things that I deal with. These sermons are not based on anybody else here, okay? So if there's somebody who's dealing with any of these things that we've been talking about, know that I have not been talking to you. I've been talking to myself from my own self-experience. And I hope that it helps you. But you got to get to the point where you accept it and choose to move forward. Lord, I pray that you would help us just to move forward, God. Help change our hearts so we can reach others. People don't care about getting into another conflict. They have that already in their lives. God, so I pray that you'd bring us healing and bring us relief from our conflicts, healing from our conflicts, that we would seek out and be peacemakers, Lord. And we know that being a peacemaker is in part not starting a fight in the first place. But we also know that being a peacemaker is going to conflict and resolving it in our own life first and then in others. So Lord, I pray that you'd help us to have just a reconciling attitude, that we would not be in it for winning an argument, but that we'd be in it for more of you. God, I just pray you'd work in us. God, you know my heart. I'm not talking to someone else, God. I'm talking to you about me. God, the whole offended thing, it was fun at first. It's not fun anymore, God. It's something that we got to get over, God, and we can't get over it by ourselves. We need you to help us, God. We want to be a church that reaches people, and we can't do that if we're constantly stumbling over our own problems. God, help us to be quick to forgive and slow to speak. Lord, I just pray that you would keep doing the work that we already know that you're doing, and we love you. Amen.